You know that feeling when someone suggests coming over to your place and your entire nervous system screams no? Not because you don't like them, not because your house is a mess, but because the idea of someone entering your space, your sanctuary, feels like an invasion you didn't sign up for. And then comes the guilt. Because normal people love hosting, right? They throw dinner parties. They say, come over anytime and actually mean it. But you'd rather meet literally anywhere else. A coffee shop, a park, the surface of the moon. Anywhere but here. If that sounds uncomfortably familiar, stay with me, because what you're experiencing isn't antisocial, it's not rude, and it's definitely not a personality flaw. It's psychology. And once you understand why your brain works this way, you'll stop apologizing for it. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Your home isn't just a location, it's a psychological extension of yourself. And when you hate having guests over, you're not rejecting people, you're protecting something far deeper. So let's talk about what's really happening inside your mind when someone asks to visit, because this will change how you see yourself. Let's start with the obvious question. Why does the idea of hosting feel so exhausting to some people while others thrive on it? The answer lies in something psychologists call environmental control, and it's one of the most underrated human needs. Your home is the one place where you have complete control. You decide the temperature, the lighting, the sounds, the smells, the level of chaos or order. You don't have to perform. You don't have to explain yourself. You can exist in your most unfiltered state. It's not just comfort, it's autonomy. And for people with a high need for autonomy, inviting someone into that space feels like voluntarily surrendering control. Suddenly you're hyper-aware of everything. Is the couch too ugly? Is the air freshener working? Are they judging your book collection? Your brain shifts from relaxation mode to performance mode. And that's the problem. Neuroscience backs this up. When you're in a familiar, controlled environment, your brain operates in what's called a low-threat state. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and social behavior, can relax. But the moment a guest arrives, your brain registers a shift. Now there's an unpredictable variable in your controlled ecosystem. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, subtly activates, not because the person is dangerous, but because their presence introduces uncertainty. Will they stay too long? Will they expect entertainment? Will they touch your things? This isn't paranoia. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Monitor your environment for anything that disrupts your sense of safety. Have you ever noticed that hosting feels different depending on who the guest is? Some people you don't mind, others make you want to fake a sudden illness. That's because the psychological cost of hosting isn't the same for everyone. When you invite someone over, you're not just sharing space, you're sharing vulnerability. They see how you live, they see your habits, your quirks, your private world. And if you're someone who values privacy, not secrecy, but privacy, that exposure feels like too much. Here's where it gets interesting. Psychologists distinguish between two types of people when it comes to social energy: integrators and segmenters. Integrators blur the lines between their personal and social lives. They love mixing worlds, their home, their friends, their work. It all flows together. Segmenters, on the other hand, keep their worlds separate. Home is home. Social life happens out there. And if you're a segmenter, hosting isn't just inconvenient, it's a category violation. It forces two worlds to collide that you've carefully kept apart. Does this sound like you? But there's another layer. Let's talk about emotional labor. Hosting isn't just about providing snacks and a place to sit. It's about managing someone else's experience. You become responsible for their comfort, their mood, their enjoyment. You're reading social cues, adjusting the vibe, making sure no awkward silences stretch too long. For some people, this comes naturally. For others, it's utterly draining. And if you're already someone who spends a lot of energy managing other people's emotions in your daily life, at work, in relationships, in friendships, hosting becomes one more unpaid emotional shift you didn't ask for. There's also the issue of recovery time. Introverts often get blamed for hating guests, but it's not that simple. Plenty of introverts love hosting, they just need time to recharge afterward. But some people don't just need recovery time after hosting, they need recovery time before they can even face the idea of it. Their social battery isn't drained by the event itself, it's drained by the anticipation, the preparation, the mental load of imagining all the ways it could go wrong. When was the last time you felt that? And here's the provocative part. Maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe the problem is that we've romanticized this idea of the open home. The person who says, "My door's always open," gets praised. The person who prefers boundaries gets judged. But why? Why is one approach to social life considered generous and the other selfish? Who decided that your home, the one place you're supposed to feel completely yourself, should also be a public venue? Some people recharge in solitude. Some people recharge in their private rituals, cooking alone, reading on the couch, walking around in old clothes with no agenda. And when guests come over, all of that disappears. You can't half host. You can't be sort of present. It's all or nothing. And if you're already running on limited energy, giving that much of yourself to a guest feels like asking someone to donate blood when they're already anemic. So where does this leave you? If you hate having guests over, you're not broken, you're not cold, you're not a bad friend, you're someone who understands that your energy is finite and your home is sacred. You're someone who knows the difference between loneliness and solitude, and you refuse to apologize for needing the latter. Here's the reframe. People who protect their space aren't closed off. They're selective. They know what drains them and what sustains them. They're not trying to keep the world out. They're trying to keep their inner world intact. And in a culture that equates social availability with goodness, that's actually a radical act of self-awareness. Think about it. What does this say about you? It says you know yourself. It says you don't perform intimacy where it doesn't exist. It says you'd rather meet someone in a neutral space and have a real conversation than force a fake dinner party vibe in your living room. And honestly, that's more honest than most people are willing to be. The people who truly get you won't need an invitation to your home to feel close to you. They'll understand that your care shows up in other ways. In showing up for them out there, in thoughtful texts, in meaningful conversations over coffee, in being present when it matters, not in hosting performances you never wanted to give. So the next time someone asks to come over and your gut reaction is dread, don't override it. Don't force yourself to be someone you're not. Your home is yours, your energy is yours, and protecting both isn't selfish, it's self-respect. If this resonated, ask yourself, where else in your life are you performing for people instead of protecting what actually matters? Comment if this felt uncomfortably accurate, and if you want to understand more about why solitude isn't loneliness, why some people need less and feel more, the next video is going to make everything click.